Hi, everyone. Welcome to Out and About with Tom and Sherry.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Sherry. Well, our video today is Olympia, Greece.
Yep.
Yep. So we're getting to the end of our Mediterranean tour.
And Olympia was a little different. I felt like Olympia was the terrain was different. It wasn't as mountainous, and it was rural. It wasn't these ancient ruins in a dense city. It was out in the country, peaceful.
yeah.
It felt to me like ruins in a park-like setting.
And it was definitely out. We did not see a big city anywhere around.
Nope.
So
Nope.
totally different. Yeah.
Yeah, we
So,
drove out through some farmlands.
yeah.
And
Yep. So it was certainly a different experience from the other places we had been. So we did an excursion on this stop because we wanted to go to the site of the birth of the Olympics, and it was quite a while of a drive to get there. Probably about 40-minute drive,
yep,
probably
it was a
to
good
get there.
distance.
So we signed up for the excursion, and definitely glad that we went on the excursion. But the excursion was really pushed for time, so it was really rushed, and so we did not get to spend a lot of time at each of the stops there at the Olympic site. So just a heads up on that, but. We'll go ahead and give you the full tour like we always do and our thoughts along the way. But it was I really enjoyed getting to go there, and I would definitely go back.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
One thing you and I talked about was kind of, I guess, the magnitude of this site or the historical importance of this site. This is where they had the first Olympics,
Right. Right. Yeah.
and that means something.
Yep. Absolutely.
It's
So
important.
yeah, yeah, definitely somewhere to see.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get started. So this is coming into port very different than everywhere else we had been. It was so peaceful and quiet.
Yeah.
We were barely moving.
Yep. And look at the ocean. The ocean's almost like glass.
Yeah.
It was.
And a lighthouse, and it was just so different. And you just stood on your balcony and you were just quiet.
Yep. Yep. And the pier was interesting too. I mean, the pier was right up, I guess, by the shore. They built this rock pier up, but they must have dredged it quite a bit to be able to fit the ships in there. But all of it was just not fancy.
No, it was just very small town, very small seaside little village is really what came to mind for me.
Yeah.
And basically, these shops, we did not walk out to these shops, but you certainly could from the pier. But they were all tourist shops, and you'll see as we leave on our bus, we'll drive by them. This was early. I want to say we were getting in around 8,
Yep.
7:38. It was pretty early, so they weren't open yet. But again, it was just a very peaceful entry into this port. And I think that was a little fisherman's boat. At first, I thought it was a tugboat, but you saw that tugboat there
There
a little
was
bit out.
There was a tugboat there, which was unusual. I mean, these cruise ships, they don't need a tugboat because they've got they call them Azzy thrusters. They don't need tugboats anymore. But it was neat that there was a tugboat there.
Yeah, but I think this, like I say, was just a local fisherman.
I think that is a tugboat.
Yeah, exactly.
The big white one. But yeah, the other one, the one on the left, that's just a local fisherman coming with the catch of the day.
But you could get off here and just walk into that little town and go through the tourist shops and whatnot. And I'm sure they had some little restaurants and things like that because we saw a lot of people coming back from that. So the excursion that we took was Olympia and the Archaeological Museum, which was a 4-hour tour, and it was considered an activity 2 level. So we're on the bus and we're going through that little town.
Yeah, here's the shops.
And not, like I say, kind of getting ready for the day, not quite open yet. But it would have lots of little mom and pop shops, it looked like. So here we are. We're out at the little village, and we're headed, like I say, about a 40-minute drive, I want to say, to the site of the birthplace of the Olympics.
Yeah. And it was neat. It was neat driving through there. There was kind of an agricultural area. I enjoy riding in the buses and looking out the buses, but yeah, it was an agricultural area, and there was like olive groves and other agricultural crops.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And there was a tour guide on the bus, and so she was providing information as well about the area and just leading up to arriving at the site. So um, you were getting information about the area, primarily though about the site that we were going to. But yeah, it's always neat to kind of see the houses and the agricultural work that's going on, and just a nice drive out to the site.
Yep. Nice peaceful drive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's always interesting to me to see kind of how people live and work. You're there as a tourist, obviously, but people live and work there, and I kind of like seeing what their little towns look like along the way.
Yeah. And the houses. I looking at the houses. And one thing we saw one a while back, but no, that's not one there. But a lot of like solar water heaters and stuff on roofs of houses. They're a lot more. They conserve energy a lot more than we do here in the United States.
But it looks like a lot of these places just had their own little vineyard or little agricultural farm that they were
Yeah.
doing. And just kind of like a rolling hill kind of environment, really. Nothing really, um, high mountains or anything.
But just markedly different from
Yeah.
the other places we were.
Oh, yeah, because the other places, the previous videos with Athens was intense. So this is once we arrived, we got off the bus, and it was just very lush, like I say, kind of park area, and lots of people on this tour. Like I say, being a distance out, I think a lot of people took advantage of going on the tour. But there was a very quick rest stop. And then we were headed out on our way. And this was kind of an overview of the area. And the first place you see is the gymnasium for the athletes. And this was the ruins of that area. Like I say, this is the first thing that you see when you come in. And there are some great sites online that you can learn a little bit more about each one of the different sites along the way. But you kind of, you stop at the tour guide stops you at these different places and, explains a little bit about it. But again, just kind of keep in mind that we were kind of moving along pretty quick.
We were moving.
Yeah, and some of the people were having a hard time keeping up with the walking, so that kind of presented a little bit of a challenge. But our tour guide was very knowledgeable. It was just very quick from one place to the next. This is kind of the overview map of the area that shows the different places that we're going to walk to. So to the left there, just to the left of the square, was that gymnasium, and so we're going to kind of move to the right as we're showing along in the video, and then we'll head a little bit over to the center, and then off to that area, kind of over in the top left, which was the stadium running track area. And then back towards the gymnasium. This is kind of the route we're going to take on this. This was the wrestling grounds, kind of training practice.
And that one, I imagine that was kind of a dressing room.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea if that's the case, but I imagine it was kind of a dressing type room.
And the columns left, from different sites. And again, this is kind of, as I recall, this was kind of the area for the athletes, the training, the accommodation quarters,
Yep.
Things like that was at this initial area that we walked through.
Yeah, not a competition area.
It's just really amazing to kind of see that all this is still there. And this truly is the site of the first Olympics. And you're trying to, part of you's like, okay, really? But I mean, it is.
It takes a minute. It took me a minute for that to sink in, the magnitude of this place. I
Mhm.
don't know what magnitude is, right. I guess the significance
Yeah,
of
the
this place.
significance of this. Yeah, and from my understanding, Greeks would travel here. Um, I mean, it was quite a journey to do that. It was something that a lot of people wanted to do to celebrate what was going on, and it was neat to kind of see the shells in the remains of these buildings and whatnot.
Yeah, that was something that fascinated me, just like that shell lying on the ground. And how did that shell get there? I mean,
And this again, just like in Athens, our previous video, they're still doing excavation work and
yeah,
whatnot. And this was kind of one of the far south end of the complex there, where they were doing some restoration work. But I was surprised how far inland we were. I thought
yeah,
it would be closer to the ocean, but we were pretty far inland.
yeah, miles and miles inland. I suppose we could look it up and put it in the video.
Mhm. This is nice, just kind of where you can see the base of these columns, and there were the different signage and whatnot as to what the different things were. But again, we were moving along pretty quick, so we really didn't have time to read those either. So you were really relying on the tour guide to do that.
And one thing that was interesting to me is it sort of reminded me of a cemetery with the everything lined up in rows and the stones and stuff. But obviously, it wasn't a cemetery. That was just the bases of the columns.
Hmm. Yeah, where there was a temple or building. I mean, with the
Yeah,
columns, more than likely it's a temple of some type.
yeah.
And the temple of Zeus is and the temple of Hera are the prominent components here, and we'll get there in a little bit and give a little more information about that. And we're starting to head over towards the stadium area at this point. So now we're getting to the stadium, as I say. So again, you can see in the top left kind of where that is on the map, and heading over that way. You kind of go through an archway, you'll see that. But yeah, just you're walking where the ancient Greeks walked.
Yeah. And where they went to, compete in athleticism and greatness, celebrate greatness. And I love this arch. Well, I mean, I've mentioned it in other videos, but I love that arch. I love that sense of arrival that it gives you. You walk into that arch and you know you're going somewhere. And the athletes walked under that arch thousands of years ago. And I don't know how to put it in words, but it's important. And another thing, kind of as a side note, she talked about how the athletes would coat themselves with like white pigment and animal fat or something and run around naked.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
just
kind of cool.
yeah. Well, again, the statues kind of come into play and kind of replicating that. But a couple people, I don't think we got a picture of it, but a couple people were kind of doing mock racing down the stadium and whatnot here. But yeah,
Yeah.
you're walking where, again, the birthplace of the Olympics, and where thousands and thousands of Greeks at that time were coming to be a part of the festival. That's originally what it was a festival that then became, something that happened on a regular basis.
It's something that we still do today,
Right.
2,500 years later. Arch again.
You come back
After we
through that.
left, looking
Mhm.
back into the track and field area, I guess.
And so now we're coming back towards the entrance area there. So this was another treasuries. These were kind of accommodation type buildings that were there. And this leads over to another significant spot. It was like everywhere you turned. And this was neat, this little area there. You can see where the statue, so you see this art, the arc of the backdrop of this area, and the statues were inside that. So yeah, you just hard to imagine what this looked like, but it was certainly grand, by all accounts, for sure. And remember that bull, because we'll see that uh, in the museum.
But something, and I think about this whenever I'm around these old sites, these ancient sites. I mean, that the time that somebody spent to carve those statues and to build that wall to put the statues in. I don't know how long it took, but honestly, don't think that that is something we could recreate today, just because we've lost those skills and we've lost the patience in order to do it. We try to figure out how to mechanize it, and so that it's just interesting. I mean, somebody probably spent a year maybe carving a statue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this area here is the Temple of Hera, and this was a very important site, and it still is today, because again, you can look online. This is where the ceremony, every time the Olympic comes around, whether it's Winter Olympics or Summer Olympics, where the torch is lit at the Temple of Hera, and where it leaves from to then go to wherever the Olympics is being held. So it's kind of neat to look it up online and watch the ceremony that they do. But yeah, it's right from here that they bring the flame.
So the modern Olympics, the
Yes.
Olympics, I guess I didn't realize that. So that flame, they will take a flame and light it at the Temple of Hera and bring it to the side of the Olympics. So like this next time, Los Angeles,
Mm-hmm.
they'll keep it up, traveling. Oh, wow,
Mm-hmm.
wow,
Mm-hmm.
and it starts there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can again see that online. You can see the ceremony. So another significant, and this was because it's got the columns are still there. So you'll see a picture of that here in just a minute. Um, so it's nice that there are certain components that you can look at and go, oh, I can see it. I can see the curves of the
Yeah.
different buildings or the columns, and you can kind of get a visual understanding of kind of what you're looking at.
Yeah,
So
there it is. Look at that. That guy looks like pretty much basically an Olympic
it
athlete.
could be
right
a statue inside there.
There. I could.
Yeah.
I might have been trying to act like a statue. I think I was.
So more of these base of the buildings, and you couldn't really walk up to them. They were kind of all, you see this little rope area. You couldn't quite walk around in them, which is understandable, but you could from the trail you could. So the second half of the tour is going to the Archaeological Museum of Olympia. And again, these are the statues and items that were dug up there, remnants, metal objects, things of that nature. Again, I would really like to go back one day. Who knows if that'll ever happen. But we did not get to spend very much time at all in the museum.
Yeah, we kind of rushed through that.
And it was very crowded inside. But we did our best to capture the stuff that we thought was pretty outstanding. But again, we were very moving along really quick.
I think you could easily spend the better part of a day in that museum just looking at this stuff.
Oh yeah, and reading the information about the different items, but lots of these, again, kind of people, athletes, the horses, the
Yeah.
different components. But again, remember this was originally a festival before it became, an Olympic type thing. So there's, the worshiping going on and whatnot. So that would explain some of the items.
And these statues and the artifacts here were just, I don't know, very neat. I could spend hours just looking at them, studying them.
Yeah, these were animals. And again, we just really did not even have the time to stop and read what was written there about the different items.
And you know, something that struck me with some of these, and there's another one coming up, is the similarities of those with what you see like in the Mayan, in the Aztec ruins. And those artifacts are, there's some real similarities. You know, the bird in the last slide before this giant gear.
Well, it's, can you see over on the bottom right, the building? So you see the circle on the top of that roof?
Yeah.
That's that
That's
medallion or whatever. I don't know what you would call that, but then you're starting to see some of the sculpture work that were part of the statues, and these statues were large too.
And isn't this where she told us that when the conquerors came in, they would lop the noses off the statues for some reason to deface them, I guess.
The helmets were neat.
The helmets were neat. And that looks very, you know, that could come from a Mayan or an Aztec ruin. And it just struck me the similarities of those. And this, the top of a building.
Yeah, so this is that the pediment component, right? These are smaller statues, so one of the smaller buildings, but and I thought it was neat how they, you know, they don't have all the pieces.
Yeah.
So the wiring and whatnot that's there to be able to make the form, but yet the pieces that are missing. Took you a minute to kind of, for me to kind of catch on to what was going on. But it's like they don't have that full arm, right?
Or the neck, it's missing the neck.
Yeah. But what I thought was really neat about this was notice the image on the back of the wall. That's that statue. But the pieces are missing.
Here's another pediment, one of the on a big building, what it looked like.
And so they recreate this in the museum, and that's what was really neat. So this is the bottom of it, and then up above you see the components of these statues that they still have in various pieces. Chariot races with the horses, and that's what we see here. So you'll see the chariots and whatnot. The chariots they don't have the chariots. They have components of the horses, but not the chariots. But so each side had a different story that, from what I read, Greeks would have understood what they were looking at, that they were part of these ancient stories and activities that the Greeks were known for. But yeah, so here they're trying to replicate what they still have and the missing pieces. The horses were neat. I really liked the horses. And then it was hard to get a good picture because there were so many people in that room. But I think the recreation that they did was really neat to try and place everything as it would have been in that pediment. I can't think. Hold on, let me back up. What are those called? It's not nymph.
Oh, the half man, half horse?
Yes. What is this?
Minotaur?
Minotaur? Oh, yeah, I think it's Minotaur.
Minotaur.
Centaur. So I think those are centaurs. Minotaurs, centaurs. So this is the other side, the east side pediment. And this was the story of this fight with these minotaurs, centaurs, is what's replicated here with those statues. And then in the center of this was this humongous sitting statue of Zeus, which does not survive. But it was really big. The information I looked up on that, it was almost 44 feet tall and almost 22 feet wide. And there would have been gold on it and ivory. But again, people would travel to come and see just this statue of Zeus.
And that jaguar. Yeah, that was, to me, there was just something very intriguing about it. And again, it looks like you might see that in Mexico. But look at it, just the power of it in that. And there's the bull.
There's that bull. He's missing his other legs. So I really would have liked to have stopped and read the different things about the different statues, because all of it is representative of Greek mythology and the stories that are basis for Greek history.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point to me because it took me on this trip. I'm not a historian type, and it took me a while to realize that the mythology and the history aren't completely separate. The mythology and the history are blended. Just like in other areas, the biblical references and the history are blended. I mean, it's obvious now that I know it, but it took a while for that to click for me.
And this was just kind of an overview of the area, just the
Yeah.
elaborate nature of these carvings.
And there's another lion or jaguar, and just the face. The faces reminded me of the Wizard of Oz, the lion on the Wizard of Oz.
So look at the size. This is just the torso of Zeus. That and Tom standing next to him.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm probably average height. And that's just the torso is as tall as I am.
Mhm.
I'm probably a little more fit than the torso.
So then
You can cut that part
it was a 4 hour, and she was really trying to stick to that 4 hours and really moved everybody along. So again, just kind of keep that in mind. So back on the road to the cruise port. So this is closer to the port, and there were some elaborate houses there along the way. Always makes me wonder. I wonder what that person does.
Yeah.
Wonder what their business is. Are they part of the tourist industry, or are they an agricultural farmer? Again, nice little glimpse of the town coming in. And then we did not go into the town. We went right back to the cruise ship. And it was just nice. It was such a peaceful port. It was a nice place to just kind of watch the people coming and going. And there was a little beach over to the left hand side of the port that people were at. I would imagine that beach area was probably nice to just kind of relax there. It looked kind of rocky though.
Yeah.
But if you just wanted to lay out, because it was warm, and this is towards the end of May that we were there.
It was warm, but it wasn't humid. It wasn't
Mm-mm.
uncomfortably warm or uncomfortably humid. It was just pleasant. And we're not really beach people.
Mm-hmm. Like you said, it must have been really dredged because that looked so shallow.
Yeah.
So there you can see people were walking back from town or whatnot, and right over there on the other side of that wall was that little tiny beach area, and as you say, you can kind of see it's kind of rocky there. But people just were kind of strolling back, and
then the fishing boats there.
Yeah.
That big one pulls a net, pulls a seine. And another cruise ship.
And I don't know. We mentioned this was for the we were on the Epic,
Yep.
Norwegian Epic
Yep.
for this particular. You can see a little bit more of that beach area there on the other side of that wall. Oh, and I even zoomed in.
A few tugboats scattered around. Those are higher end tugboats. Those had official bumpers on them. Egypt, they had old tires tied to this side, which probably worked just as well.
I would imagine these are probably like vacation homes for people, or up on the hillside. And then it just a little shop there. If you, we didn't go in there, but I would imagine, you know, T-shirts and whatnot, touristy little things.
And I found that the signs on that shop interesting. The U is missing from duty-free shops on all three of them. And I looked at that and I wonder where the U's went.
Ports are always interesting to me. It's interesting that, you know, these are obviously fabricated pieces there.
Yeah.
For the breaker, right?
Yep. Oh, the gabions? Yeah. And they just, yeah, they all lock together.
Just gorgeous water there.
Yeah. And the thunderclouds in the background.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that was Olympia, Greece.
I enjoyed it. I wish we had more time, but I enjoyed it. And I think those little villages, maybe you could get an Airbnb there or something. It looked like a really nice place to just to hang out, even outside of the grounds of the park.
Yeah.
There were a little homes and whatnot there too. So
it'd be a nice place to just go relax.
Just relax, yeah.
A few days.
Yep. And just hang out there. So anyway, so we hope you enjoyed the video. And if you're on a cruise and going to Olympia, you get a little insight about what you can expect.
Yep.
So we still have just a couple more videos left on our Grand Mediterranean tour. We've also been doing some shorts, just some highlights from different things, and even some aspects that we didn't include in our videos. So you can take a look at those as well. But up next, I believe, is going to be Valletta, Malta,
Yep.
which was amazing. Amazing entry into a port. Yeah, just amazing.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, yeah. So
that is honestly,
we hope you'll stay tuned for that. So if you're a subscriber, thanks for joining us. If you're not, we hope you will. And we will see you on the next video or in the shorts, because I'm putting out a lot of shorts. So yeah.
Thanks for watching.
Okay, we'll see you next time.
Ciao.
Bye. Bye-bye.